Seafaring Pokemon. Manaphy is a Pokemon made up of 80% water, and on the rare occasion it is located, it's found drifting in the sea in an attempt to return to the place it was born. Manaphy is a very empathetic Pokemon, using its signature move Heart Swap to bond with other Pokemon. Because Manaphy's liquid body is sensitive to its environment and its powers focus almost exclusively on allowing it to connect to Pokemon on a heart-to-heart level, Manaphy tends to lean toward a more pacifistic type of means of managing conflict. Thus, Manaphy sticks up there with the more peaceful Pokemon on this list. Diancie, the jewel Pokemon, rises up to take the next spot on this list. Diancie is considered to be an extremely rare evolution of Carbink and is capable of instantly creating diamonds by compressing carbon in the air between its hands. In its mega evolved form, the Diancie is known as the Royal Pink Princess because of its elegant, noble stature. In the movie The Cocoon of Destruction, Diancie is shown to be in charge of overseeing and preserving the hidden diamond domain, preventing
I really think it should go like day after day. I gotta go.
Also be ignoring the Ultra Beasts, as while they are rare Pokemon, they are common in their home dimension in Ultra Space. And, of course, there will be spoilers, so watch at your own risk. As always, we'll start off with the most noble characters and work our way down to the most vile. These Pokemon are the good. Getting the gold medal of good is mighty Sinnoh himself, Arceus. According to legend, Arceus emerged from a mysterious egg before time itself and created the Pokemon world as we know it with its 1,000 arms. Arceus is famous for creating Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina, who govern time, space, and antimatter respectively. In Heart Gold and Soul Silver in the Sinnoh Ruins, we see that Arceus is capable of actually creating more of the creation trio on a whim. In Pokemon Legends Arceus is shown to be an inherently benevolent deity, using its unfathomable power to create the noble Pokemon and shepherd humanity and Pokemon in the direction of coexistence and mutual respect. With its constant oversight of the existence of the Pokemon world and the laws that govern it, Arceus is more than deserving of the top spot. Riding in to grab the Silver Medal of Good is Calyrex, the king of bountiful harvests. Calyrex is a merciful and honorable Pokemon who led the Galar region in ancient times. Using its powers of healing and plant growth, this Pokemon would usher in enormous harvests, earning its title as the king of bountiful harvests. When battling, Calyrex would even heal its opponent's wounds after battle, just because it's that honorable of a combatant. At full power, Calyrex also possesses the ability to see into the past and future and, according to legend, used this ability to save an entire forest of Pokemon from a meteor. Now, Calyrex did this by thinking of the idea to physically pick up the forest and literally push it somewhere else. Calyrex is heroic and no pick up the forest from a meteor. Now, Calyrex did this by thinking of the idea
that part. He picked up the forest and just moved it somewhere else.
To physically pick up the forest and literally push it somewhere else. Calyrex's heroic and noble nature make it deserve the Silver Medal of Good. Earning the Bronze Medal of Good is the heroic duo, Zacian and Zamazenta, the warrior Pokemon. These two Galarian Pokemon are supposedly the two legendary heroes who defeated Eternatus during the Darkest Day, saving the region itself and possibly even the world. Together, these two Pokemon are able to negate Eternatus's Dynamax energy spike and allow it to be contained. And they've done this twice. Once during the original Darkest Day, and again when Chairman Rose decides he's evil now and decides to start another Darkest Day. Then they turn to stone and wait until they need to save the world again. These are easily two of the more heroic Pokemon on this list, and with their track record of saving the planet, yeah, they earn this spot. Coming in just shy of bronze is the new species Pokemon. This little fella has been a staple of the series ever since Generation 1, and is an incredibly rare Pokemon to even witness, let alone catch. Mew possesses the DNA of all Pokemon, essentially being the catalyst of Pokemon as a species in the Pokemon world. Mew is a curious and playful Pokemon, but when push comes to shove, you know they're on the side of good. In all of its many cameos across the series, Mew has been shown to be a heroic Pokemon. To name just a few instances, it fights its clone sibling Mewtwo to stop him from destroying the planet in Mewtwo Strikes Back, serving as a guardian of the Tree of Beginning in Lucario and the Mystery of Mew, and rescuing Ash and Go's Pokemon captured by Team Rocket in the episode Dreams Are Made of These. Mew's altruistic nature is a strong reason why it garners a high spot on this list. Coming next is Suicune, the Aurora Pokemon.
We know you're hovering over that button, but we need your help. We have a better button, we promise.
Joking.
And a standout member of the legendary dogs. Suicune is capable of walking across water, as well as being able to purify water that's contaminated by disease and filth. It travels across the land in search of waters to cleanse. In the anime, it's regularly encountered by...
It purifies water and cleanses it? And that water gotta taste good as fuck.
Ash and company.
You know, this Pokemon will actually solve water problems. Like, we won't have to, like, clean that shit. We could just literally get Mew to purify that shit, and he'll get rid of all the toxicity in that shit. Mew will actually have a job. Nigga, that'd be slave. Y'all be slaving that Pokemon, because then, what if he don't want to purify? What if he just be like, one day, man, I'm finna chill and relax? But GG's.
Fighting alongside them from time to time. Gol has even caught a Suicune very recently, putting it up there with one of the legendaries that's directly worked with the protagonists as one of their Pokemon. Suicune's presence as one of the protagonist's Pokemon, as well as its powers to purify one of the world's most important natural resources, put it up close as one of the most useful and good Pokemon on this list. Next up is the sweet little Cosmog, as well as their evolved forms, Cosmoem, Solgaleo, and Lunala. Cosmog's a genuinely sweet, curious little Pokemon. It is incredibly naive, which puts Cosmog at risk of being taken advantage of. It then evolves into Cosmoem, a motionless cocoon state, before finally transforming into either Lunala or Solgaleo. Lunala and Solgaleo were worshipped in ancient Alola as deities of the moon and sun, respectively. In the anime and the games, Cosmog and their evolutions directly work with the protagonists, being raised by Lily. This causes it to have some of the most direct cooperation with the good guys in the entirety of Pokemon, earning a rather high spot on this list for being good. However, Cosmog loses some points because it just can't get in the bag. Next is Celebi, the time travel Pokemon. This little green Time Lord is known for being the guardian of Ilex Forest in the Johto region, using its powers over the time stream in order to fix anomalous activity and promote a prosperous future. Celebi is typically
a lot of people kind of counters that argument with Celebi. They're like, if Celebi's messing with time, wouldn't Celebi be bumping into Dialga? Like, they'll just be like, hey, how you doing? What's up, man? I'm just going through to go fix this forest so this forest doesn't get fucked up. Dialga be like, yeah, sure, man, go ahead.
Depicted as a good Pokemon at heart, such as when it rescues a Zoroark from Kodai in the movie Zoroark, Master of Illusions, or when Celebi works with your team in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Time / Darkness / Sky, to stop Dialga and undo the bad future. Celebi's inherent protectiveness and kind personality earn her a spot pretty high up on this list. Next, we have Landorus, the guardian of the fields. While Landorus may look scary on the outside, this Pokemon's behavior tells a different story entirely. Alongside Enamorus, Landorus is an integral part of giving the Pokemon world fertile soil for crops. When its sibling Pokemon, Tornadus and Thundurus, two Pokemon that both bring horrible storms, start to clash, causing untold devastation on the land, Landorus comes in to quell the conflict, sort of like an older brother breaking up its two younger brothers fighting. Landorus's protection from storms and its critical involvement in the harvest seasons make it rank rather high. Next is the melody Pokemon, Meloetta. A muse for the musical arts, Meloetta is a mythical Pokemon born for the stage. Using Relic Song, its signature move, Meloetta can shift between its more music-oriented aria form and its graceful, dance-focused pirouette form. Meloetta's music has inspired many famous songs, giving the Pokemon a direct connection to the culture of the Pokemon world. While it may not be the most physically helpful Pokemon of the legendaries like Landorus and Celebi, Meloetta is a Pokemon that has done nothing but contribute to one of the most important parts of human culture. It's just a good Pokemon through and through. Next is Cresselia, the lunar Pokemon. Cresselia is a Pokemon that's said to bring pleasant dreams. Cresselia possesses skill with healing and warding off nightmares, and actively opposes its nightmare counterpart, Darkrai. In Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Time, Darkness, Sky, Cresselia even serves as a teammate in the later game dungeons, as it works with the protagonist and their partner to fight Darkrai. Cresselia's role as a protector of rest puts it high up on this list. Next is the rainbow Pokemon, Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh is known for its ability to create gorgeous rainbows as it flies overhead. Ho-Oh's appearance is said to invoke eternal happiness, and it's had a hand in creating the three legendary dogs, Entei, Raikou, and Suicune. Ho-Oh is worshipped in the Johto region as a guardian of the skies and a symbol of rebirth, rumored to have the ability to resurrect the dead. These supposed powers of rebirth have even caused a religious movement centered around them to form within Ekritique City. Ho-Oh's positive connotations and impact in Johto's culture is what puts it a little closer to the top of the good side in this list. Funnily enough, next up is Lugia, the complement to Ho-Oh, the guardian of the seas and the leader of the legendary birds.
Yeah, a lot of people. Lugia didn't create the legendary birds, but he is the leader of them.
Lugia isolates itself far off in the middle of the ocean due to its volatile storm powers.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Lugia can like flap his wings, and he's not doing it on purpose. If Lugia were to flap his wings create storms that can destroy lands and shit. And that's just him flapping his wings. That nigga's broken. That's why he ain't give me an ocean.
Lugia can cause tornadoes and hurricanes that last for weeks with just a little twitch of its wings. While it may be a very solitary Pokemon, Lugia serves the important role of breaking up Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres when they squabble over territory, preventing tiny disputes from spilling out into highly volatile brawls, such as what happened in the movie The Power of One. Lugia's placed here purely for the fact that it serves as a mediator between the legendary birds, as well as seemingly having the forethought to protect others from powers it just can't control. Next up is Victini, the victory Pokemon. This little ball of energy is said to bring victory to any that own it, carrying nearly an infinite amount of energy it can spread through a touch. Victini is a Pokemon that literally radiates positivity and does nothing but try to help the trainer it partners with. Victini simply exists to give energy to others, and that's ultimately a good thing for anyone. Everyone needs a little pep in their step. Up next is Shaman, the gratitude Pokemon. Shaman has two forms, its land form and its sky form. In land form, Shaman is incredibly shy and fearful of others, while in sky form, which it transforms into by touching a Grassidea flower, it's open and playful. Shaman flock to places with large amounts of gratitude, which causes the flowers on its body to bloom. It can use these flowers to dissolve pollution in the air, causing new flowers to bloom. Shaman's a very feel-good Pokemon, and poetically repays others' gratitude and kindness with the beauty of nature, putting it up solidly in the good portion of our list. Magearna, the artificial Pokemon, is next on the list. Despite clearly being a robot, Magearna is far from unemotional. Magearna's sphere in the center of its chest is known as its Soul Heart, a condensed ball of life energy taken from other Pokemon. The Soul Heart is the very culmination of Magearna's being, connecting it directly to other Pokemon and allowing it to feel their emotions, thoughts, and desires. This heightened empathy also has the unfortunate side effect of making it feel the pain of others, making it try as hard as it can to help other Pokemon, if not just to protect Magearna itself. Magearna's empathy puts it alongside the neutrally good Pokemon on this list. Next up is the sky-high Pokemon, Rayquaza. High up in the ozone layer sleeps this legendary beast.
I'm gonna tell you right now, he gonna most definitely put Rayquaza stupid high because it fights off Deoxys
and feeding off of water and other particles at high altitudes. Rayquaza also eats meteoroids in the stratosphere, using them to fuel its mega stone-like organ in its body, giving it the ability to mega evolve without a physical stone. Rayquaza serves multiple functions in protecting the planet. It regularly destroys and consumes the meteors entering the atmosphere, and serves a critical role in stopping Kyogre and Groudon from fighting and causing an end-of-the-world scenario, as seen in Pokemon Emerald. However, Rayquaza doesn't appear to be really doing these good deeds out of any goodwill on its own part, and is mostly doing these acts to ensure that it has a habitat to live in, which is more morally neutral. It also seems to have a temper. If its paranoid actions in the conclusion of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red/Blue Rescue Team is anything to go off of, but it does do good for the world. It'll just have to rest comfortably at the outer fringes of the good category. Next up is Xerneas, the life Pokemon.
Oh shit, we're getting into the evil now. If it's Xerneas next, I already know who's next. You'll
Try killing bugs the worry-free way.
Xerneas is the Pokemon that gives you eternal life. The Veltar is the one that's he's not so good. If anything, I think he's Judgment Day. He's like the end of the world type of Pokemon. He's killing everybody.
It's a strange one. This stag-like Pokemon possesses the power to grant immortality to those who interact with it, and is able to free those who've been petrified by its counterpart Pokemon, Yveltal, the destruction Pokemon. There isn't much to really say about Xerneas outside of the fact that it doesn't seem to be aggressive, and its role in the cycle of life and death with Yveltal is very important for the Pokemon world's ecosystem. Without Xerneas, Pokemon would only have their life force taken away by Yveltal, which makes it strictly a force of good purely for its role as a part of this balance. However, without Yveltal, nothing will ever pass on, which can lead to all kinds of awful situations. An example of this is when Lysander tries to use Xerneas' leftover power to make everyone immortal in Pokemon X when his headquarters is crumbling on top of them. The fragile balance that needs to be struck puts Xerneas just a little more towards the neutral side of the good spectrum than other Pokemon. Slithering on in is the order Pokemon, Zygarde. Zygarde is a very weird Pokemon. Zygarde's a Pokemon that transforms depending on how complete it is. Its completed body is made up of 5 Zygarde cores and hundreds of Zygarde cells. Zygarde's cores are essentially its brains, and when the cores and cells are separate, they're helpless without being merged to form Zygarde. At 10% completion, it becomes a dog-like Pokemon that focuses on brutal close-range combat and uses a single core to control itself. At 50% completion, it takes on its more iconic Cobra-like appearance. It's in this state that Zygarde starts to actively monitor the ecosystem around it and will actively start to defend it. At 100% completion, when every cell and core is obtained and fused together, Zygarde becomes an enormous Megazord-like entity. This state only comes
I haven't played any of these new games since like X or Y.
Comes to be.
The last Pokemon game I played when I was like, what was the last one I played? Holy shit. Well, not counting now. I mean, obviously I'm back playing Pokemon. I was in school. I was in high school at the time. What was the last one I played? I think I had stopped playing Pokemon like around 9th grade. Damn, which one was it? Was it Omega Ruby and Sapphire? I think that's when they remade them. Had to be. 90s facilities I don't know shit about. I think the last Pokemon game I played when I was in school, high school, I think it was Omega Ruby and Sapphire. Then after that, I didn't play any other Pokemons after that because I had like homework and stuff like that. I had to focus on graduating school. So I had stopped playing for a while. Then I came back. When I came back to play Pokemon, I came back when Sword and Shield came out. So it was Omega Ruby and Sapphire, yeah. The last one I played was Omega Ruby and Sapphire. When they the remake ones though.
When Xerneas
he just basically going over he's explaining every legendary from evil to bad, like the good legendaries and the bad Pokemon. He's basically telling us which legendaries you don't want to mess with and which ones that are cool with people.
And Eviltal are put in danger.
Because basically he's saying like the legendary he's doing now are all the good ones. Like he's working his way down to the evil ones. And he's saying basically these legendaries are the ones that will protect us. And the evil ones are the ones that will kill us.
And will actively seek out and eliminate any...
I didn't know shit about the legendaries. Well, I know Lugia, Ho-Ho's story, and Arceus and Mew's story, but I just didn't know the other ones. Like, what was their purpose in the Pokemon universe?
Threats to the ecosystem. Think of 100% Zygarde as a planet's immune response, a last resort that's called upon should the concept of life and death be put into jeopardy. Zygarde's existence is not only important, but an absolute necessity for safeguarding the physical embodiments of life and death in the Pokemon universe. However, Zygarde's immense power makes controlling it a major issue, as shown by the amount of damage Zygarde's able to inflict when actively being controlled by Team Flare in the Pokemon anime. While Zygarde's existence is wholly good, its immense power and potential for destruction in the wrong hands put it in the more neutrally good category.
So this thing is basically like the planet. Like Zygarde is basically, Zygarde is like if he was real in real life on our planet. If the government decides to shoot nukes at the planet or something, right? Zygarde would come out and be like, hell no, I'm about to fuck all you niggas up. He's like, I'm gonna body all y'all ass. Y'all shoot these nukes, I'm gonna kill every last one of you.
Hailing from Galar is Cubfu and its evolved form, Urshifu. The small cub...
I love this Pokemon. I love because it's like a Japanese martial art Pokemon. Like one uses strong fists and the other one uses rapid strikes. He's increasing. That's what I'm saying too, bro. He's like, yeah, man, y'all shoot these nukes, I'm gonna kill all you humans.
Like a typical martial arts anime protagonist, training its mind and body day and night to perfect its fighting spirit. Depending on the techniques Cubfu masters, Cubfu then evolves into either the fighting/dark single strike Urshifu or the rapid strike Urshifu. Single strike Urshifu is a ruthless combatant, focusing on defeating the opponent in a single well-placed punch. Single Strike Urshifu's vicious method of battling has led to some calling the Pokemon the embodiment of rage. Rapid Strike Urshifu, however, is a far more calm and patient creature, using a fighting style reliant on anticipating and avoiding enemy attacks. Rapid Strike Urshifu wears down the enemy with counterattacks. Rapid Strike Urshifu has been known to banish evil from the hearts of others with a glare. Cubfu's evolutions represent the two directions its life can go, either down the path of ruthlessness and violence, or patience and understanding. Cubfu and Urshifu's wildly changing paths and story of self-discovery and betterment cause it to remain solidly in the neutrally good category of this list. Drifting in...
Both forms are cool, though. Like, I didn't know the other one, like, the single strike was that, you know, he's filled with rage. But I actually like both forms. Both of these are actually cool Pokemon. Cool designs, too.
From the deep blue is Manaphy, the sea fish.
Okay, this Pokemon gotta be good. I never heard anything evil about Manaphy ever in my entire life. The only thing I heard that's crazy about this Pokemon is that it reproduces on its own.
Daring Pokemon. Manaphy is a Pokemon made up of 80% water, and on the rare occasion it is located, it's found drifting in the sea in an attempt to return to the place it was born. Manaphy is a very empathetic Pokemon, using its signature move Heart Swap to bond with other Pokemon. Because Manaphy's liquid body is sensitive to its environment,
these games have gotten strongly deep. That has me curious. How have you ever listened to the Double Town Scary Mode for one of the early? Oh yeah. I heard about that. I actually just saw the video for that. That was, I know what you're talking about. There was a video. I don't think it was released. If I remember correctly, they said it wasn't released in America version because they cut it out. But apparently, y'all, in Japan, that was in the early version of a Pokemon game. I forgot what it was. I don't know. Was it Pokemon Red, Green? Was it Yellow or Silver? It was one of them. And there was a song that was playing in the city. If you go to the city, it would play this terrifying song. And I heard that in Japan, it made people commit suicide because they heard it. I was like, what the hell? What kind of song was it? Oh, Mod. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I know what you're talking about now.
And its powers focus almost exclusively
I
on
thought you were talking
allowing
about the
to
song
connect to
that made people
Pokemon
hurt themselves. I
level.
was like, yeah, they cut
Manaphy
that
tends
shit
to
out.
lean toward a more
They removed
pacifistic
it.
type of means of managing conflict. Thus, Manaphy sticks up there with the more
Yeah, but I
peaceful
know what you're talking
Pokemon
about,
on
the
this
mods
list.
too. Yeah. I didn't see the mod
jewel
part at the end.
Pokemon, rises up to take the next spot on this list. Diancie is considered to be an extremely rare evolution of Carbink, and
Bro,
is
this
capable
Pokemon
of
right here, if you catch this Pokemon, bro, you're rich.
instantly creating diamonds
Yeah, man,
by
I'm still
compressing
here
carbon in the
streaming.
air between its
You
hands.
get no
In
Tekken?
its mega evolved form, the Diancie is
I
known
was just
as
playing
the
Tekken
Royal
this
Pink
morning.
Princess because of its elegant, noble stature. In the movie, The Cocoon of Destruction, Diancie is shown to be in charge of overseeing and
Yeah, man, be
preserving
safe,
the
man.
hidden
Don't-
diamond
don't
domain,
let Tekken
preventing
get to you. Don't get
trespassers
too
from
mad at
claiming
that
its
game.
riches. Diancie, like many other legendaries on this list, is simply trying to keep to its own devices and means no harm, landing it squarely in the neutral good spectrum. Coming up next are Latios and Latias, the
I love
Eon duo.
Latios, Latias.
This duo of Pokemon is found flying at high speeds across the world, and barely anyone has ever really come in contact with them. Using their glassy feathers, they refract light in order to become invisible and prevent discovery. Latias and Latios are both highly intelligent and can actually understand human speech. Because these two Pokemon typically keep to themselves and are ultimately peaceful at heart, they bookend the neutrally good portion of our list. Dashing in next is Raikou, the Thunder Pokemon. Tending to appear from thunderstorms and when other electric types are in danger, Raikou swiftly jumps in and summons storm clouds. Raikou in both the games and the anime is shown to be
That's a
incredibly
big-ass
distrustful of
Raikou.
others, running at a moment's notice and even becoming hostile if approached. Because Raikou typically keeps to itself even more so than Suicune, it's overall quite a neutral Pokemon. Following Raikou is Entei, the Volcano Pokemon.
No, it was getting good. We'll get to the good stuff. These ass out of here.
When an Entei is born, a new volcano is said to appear, and when it roars, a volcano is said to erupt. Somewhere in the world, Entei is similar to Raikou and Suicune, running across the globe due to the very chaotic nature of its powers over fire. Entei ranks a little below Raikou because of its control over fire, which is a little less controllable and destructive than just electricity. Entei also has the unique position of being the main antagonist of Spell of the Unknown, even if Entei's heart was in the right place. Ultimately, Entei leans toward the more neutral spectrum. Reshiram and Zekrom are next. Reshiram is the Dragon of Truth, capable of releasing such heat from flames in its tail that it could cause climate change. According to legends, Reshiram would go to kingdoms that had ignored truth in favor of greed and burn them to the ground. Zekrom, contrasting to Reshiram, is a dragon of ideals, capable of using its mighty electrical output to create thunderstorms. Zekrom would go from town to town, destroying the kingdoms of those who had lost sight of the righteousness in their hearts. Reshiram and Zekrom have the unique position of both being incredibly powerful and incredibly esoteric in what they represent. It's hard to explain what really makes a true or ideal world in the eyes of Reshiram or Zekrom. They fight for truth and ideals, but they themselves are inherently destructive and can be manipulated toward fighting for evil causes, such as when N gets control over one of these two for Team Plasma in either Pokemon Black or Pokemon White. It's for this reason they push towards the more neutral side of our list while still representing good morals. Next, Volcanion, the Steam Pokemon, makes its home on our list. Volcanion has the power to generate steam inside of itself and expel it through the engine-like mechanisms on its back. With this power, Volcanion gains enough momentum to blast through a mountain. However, when it does this, it needs to reload using another water source. It's a Pokemon that hasn't had a lot of notable appearances in the series, but served as a deuteragonist in Volcanion and the Mechanical Marvel, portrayed as a guardian of Magearna and its soul heart. However, Volcanion possesses a resentment towards humanity for hunting Pokemon back in ancient times. This helps to insinuate that Volcanion is a Pokemon that, while it wants to keep to itself and away from humans, it ultimately protects other Pokemon. This gives it at least some leaning away from being strictly in the neutral part of our list. Next on our list are the Swords of Justice: Keldeo, Virizion, Cobalion, and Terrakion. According to Univin mythology, these 4 Pokemon fight to protect other Pokemon from humans who endanger Pokemon territory. This begins after witnessing 2 warring human armies burn down a forest they call home. From the fire, Virizion, Cobalion, and Terrakion adopt Keldeo, and together they swear that the next time humans ever threaten Pokemon, they would be there to put a stop to it. The cool and stoic Cobalion serves as the de facto leader of the group. Terrakion serves as the group's muscle and is said to have been able to destroy castle walls with its strength. The swift and graceful Virizion confounds enemies with their speed and agility. Keldeo, their youngest member, serves as the group's resolute heart and soul before leaving the group without any of them understanding why. In total, all 4 of the Swords of Justice have the good of all Pokemon in their hearts, but their methods lead them into heavily distrusting and becoming hostile towards humans. With the good section fully wrapped up, we now move into the straight-up neutral territory. This is the gray area. So now we have the space and time Pokemon, Palkia and Dialga. Palkia and Dialga were born...
Now, I already know people are going to say these 2 are evil because they've been manipulated before, but that's because they've been manipulated. They've been tricked. They've been bamboozled, bamboozled, all this stuff. These 2 are actually not evil. If it wasn't for these 2, time and space wouldn't even exist in the Pokemon universe.
From the mighty Arceus at the beginning of the universe, with Palkia controlling space and Dialga controlling time. Their vast amounts of power lead to them being deified in ancient Sinnoh mythology, creating the Pearl Clan, which worships Palkia, and the Diamond Clan, which worships Dialga. These 2 Pokemon are also integral to the very fabric of the Pokemon world's reality. As long as Dialga's heart beats, time keeps ticking. As long as Palkia breathes, space grows to be more stable. Holy, Palkia and Dialga do good.
So, y'all heard that? That's overpowered as shit. Long as Dialga's heart keeps beating, time keeps flowing. Hey, that bars. Long as Palkia keeps breathing, space keeps growing. Bars again.
The Pokemon world's reality. As long as Dialga's heart beats, time keeps ticking. As long as Palkia breathes, space grows to be more stable. Holy, Palkia and Dialga do good purely by existing. However, it's when they fall into the wrong hands, like they very often tend to do, things get incredibly backwards. There have been several times in the anime where Dialga and Palkia have been ensnared by the red chains by the likes of Team Galactic and Alternate World Team Rocket, and are forced to change reality for the worst. Dialga has also been shown to be able to be corrupted entirely, such as in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky Darkness Time, where a bad timeline exists where Dialga went mad and caused the universe to freeze in time due to Darkrai's influence. Dialga and Palkia are good Pokemon.
Yeah, because Darkrai probably got into Dialga's head and made it see nightmares or something. And probably corrupted his mind.
And are important for maintaining the stability of the universe, but have powers that can be misappropriated in ways that can have terrible consequences for everyone. Next up are the legendary birds.
It's not like Dialga and Palkia can't fix it, though. Like, every time they do break something, and especially in the animated movies, they always fix it. If they don't fix it, Arceus fix it. Yeah, so it's not like, oh man, Dialga destroyed infinite worlds of time and Palkia destroyed infinite worlds of space. No, they can they can just snap their fingers and they'll fix it. If they lazy and they don't fix it, Arceus will fix it. I'm about to say Arceus. Arceus would most definitely fix it because he always pops up anywhere because he created them.
Zapdos, Articuno, Moltres, and their 3 Galarian counterparts. Articuno has control over ice and can cause snowfall with its mere presence, and also appears to doomed travelers in the mountains. Its Galarian counterpart is a psychic type, using illusions and immobilizing psychic blasts to neutralize prey. Moltres has dominion over fire, can heal itself by roosting in a volcano, and its approach is said to foretell the coming of spring. Moltres' Galarian form is a dark type, whose flames are said to incinerate the souls of those who approach it, invoking severe fatigue. Finally, Zapdos can harness electricity and is said to appear from thunderclouds. Zapdos' Galarian form is a fighting type, who runs at a fast enough speed that it generates the sound of electricity. One of the first legendary trios in the series, the Cantonian Articuno and Moltres are said to have used their powers over ice and fire to create the salty oceans, while Cantonian Zapdos is said to have used its electricity to create the currents and streams. As mentioned earlier, the Cantonian birds have been known to squabble violently over each other's territory in the past and have required their leader, Lugia, to come break them up. These fights have led to massive amounts of storms and damage to the regions in which they fought. This territorialism even extends to other Pokemon, such as in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red Rescue Team and Blue Rescue Team, where Moltres, Articuno, and Zapdos each fight the protagonist when they step into their lairs. This fervent territorialism pushes them hard against the neutral part of this list. Next up is Enamorus, known as the love-hate Pokemon. This Hisuian Pokemon is known as the Herald of Spring, and is said to appear at the end of winter to signal the beginning of springtime. Enamorus's love of life is quite literally contagious. When it appears, it's said to encourage the formation of new life in the surrounding area. However, Enamorus is not necessarily a peaceful Pokemon. When one disrespects or otherwise stalls the cycle of life, Enamorus will come down and smite that irritant personality, not unlike its vengeful sibling Pokemon, Tornadus and Thundurus. However, its role as a harbinger of springtime makes it lean toward the neutral part of this list. Rising from below is Heatran, the Lava Dome Pokemon.
The Sephora Savings Event is coming soon, starting April 14th.
Heatran is a Pokemon that lives at the center of volcanic craters. According to legend, Heatran was created from magma deep inside of Mount Coronet. It's so connected to the Pokemon world's mantle that magma actually runs through its veins, and its body creates such heat that Heatran's metal exoskeleton is actually melting from the heat it gives off. This inherent heat makes it very hard to trust Heatran to reliably survive peacefully on the surface.
Well, that and his body made of lava, and the fact that you can't touch Heatran either, your hand will fucking burn off.
Since if it's so hot that it can melt itself, you might think that Heatran could accidentally start wildfires by walking through a forest. Heatran, though, is not an evil Pokemon and just wants to be left alone. Next on our list is Mewtwo.
Like, Heatran doesn't bother. If y'all notice, in every movie, Heatran isn't bothering people at all. It's actually sleeping in volcanoes. It's like, hey man, I'm chilling up here, leave me alone. I don't bother you, you don't bother. That's the only Pokemon I know. It's like, you don't bother me, I don't bother you.
The genetic Pokemon. Created by Team Rocket scientists on Cinnabar Island, Mewtwo was raised to become one of the most powerful Pokemon ever created. After potentially years of experiments, Mewtwo destroys the hideout and flees. Mewtwo is one of the most elusive Pokemon, only showing itself to trainers deemed worthy. Mewtwo, according to the Pokédex, is said to not have been born with a compassionate heart. Its only concern is growing stronger and not having to answer to anyone. In Mewtwo Strikes Back, Mewtwo goes out of its way to capture and clone a bunch of trainers' Pokemon and force them to fight clones of themselves to prove who is stronger. However, the series has shown that Mewtwo is at least not unsalvageable. In Mewtwo Returns, it's shown to have become the guardian of the island where Mewtwo Strikes Back took place, protecting its fellow clones. In Genesect and The Legend Awakened, after being attacked by a bunch of Genesects, Mewtwo still offers their leader friendship. Mewtwo is a Pokemon whose harsh personality is a direct result of Team Rocket's experiments, and even though it wasn't born with a kind heart, it's shown to have at least taken steps to move past its trauma. Mewtwo is a neutral Pokemon, but not as cruel as it once was. Zipping to the next spot is Zeraora, the Thunderclap Pokemon. Zeraora's body gathers electricity from outside of itself, like a battery, which it uses to create electromagnetic fields around itself and power up its claws with high voltage electricity. These claws even generate sparks that harm the opponent should they evade the initial strike. Zeraora's speed is unmatched, being described as moving at the speed of lightning, and is said to cause thunder crashes as it moves. Zeraora is a rather brutal Pokemon, being described as tearing enemies limb from limb with its high-speed attacks. In The Power of Us, its debut movie, Zeraora develops a distrust of humans after being attacked by poachers, growing incredibly violent and dangerous to approach. But it is shown to have the potential for kindness after its faith in humanity is restored by Ash. Zeraora's electrical powers and brutal attacks make it an incredibly deadly and formidable adversary when you're on its bad side. Zeraora certainly leans toward the neutral side of this list. Rolling on in is Genesect, the Paleozoic Pokemon. Revived from a 300 million year old fossil by Team Plasma and upgraded with a powerful modifiable laser cannon, Genesect is a force to be reckoned with. Even before its transformation into what it is today, it was considered to be a formidable predator. After Team Plasma is taken over by N after the fall of Genesis, N terminates the Genesect project, him feeling Pokemon shouldn't be modified by science. But one scientist manages to continue the project in secret. In the movie Genesect and The Legend Awakened, a group of Genesect named the Genesect Army go on a rampage in New Torque City, believing the city to be their original hunting grounds, and fighting Mewtwo in the process. Being incredibly territorial Pokemon, the Genesect rampage through the city before finally being talked down by Ash, Mewtwo, and company into seeing them as friends rather than enemies. Genesect is ultimately a fish out of water, outfitted with dangerous weapons it didn't used to have, and put in a situation it doesn't know how to process. It's shown to be capable of friendship and showing compassion, and because of this, it's hard to say that Genesect itself is evil. So Genesect takes a neutral stance on our list. Getting to the end of our nicer neutral Pokemon, we have Jirachi, the Wish Pokemon. Jirachi hibernates for extreme periods of time, forming a protective shell around itself and even sleep fighting if it senses it's in danger. Every 1,000 years it awakens for several days to grant any wish that's written on the notes on its head. Jirachi itself is a very kind and playful Pokemon, as seen in its debut movie, Jirachi Wishmaker. Jirachi's place on this list is derived from the fact that it doesn't have control over what people write on it, similarly to a genie. Jirachi will carry out whatever wishes are on it as long as you can meet with it while it's awake. This can certainly lead to a good-hearted person healing the sick or bringing good fortune onto others, while a person with ill intentions can use the wish in order to obtain power or abuse the wish in some way. Jirachi itself is a good Pokemon, but its massive, abusable cosmic power causes it to be considered neutral. Next is Gladion's signature Pokemon, Type Null, and its evolution, Silvally. Designed by the Aether Foundation to combat and apprehend Ultra Beasts, Type Null is a synthetic Pokemon who has cells taken from all types. Type Null possesses an RKS system that, when paired with a hard drive of a specific type of Pokemon, allows Type Null to change its type on the fly. However, Type Null and its prototypes initially reject their RKS systems, causing stress and forcing them into a frenzy, causing them to have limiter helmets put on their heads in order to quell the angering effects. Once Type Null evolves, it loses its mask and becomes Silvally, finally strong enough to use the RKS system to its full potential. Silvally is known for being staunchly loyal to its trainer, and this makes it so that its allegiance is highly dependent on the trainer who leads Silvally, making it take more of a neutral spot on this list. Next, we have Deoxys, the DNA Pokemon. Originally a regular space virus, Deoxys was exposed to a laser beam that mutated it into the dichromatic humanoid we see it as today. Deoxys is a Pokemon that shifts between its normal form, an attack form, a defense form, and a speed form, which it uses to adapt to dangerous situations. It's not entirely clear what Deoxys' motives are, as it seems to just travel through space, and only every once in a while battles Rayquaza while the latter is eating up meteors. In fact, in Pokemon Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, the Delta episode's final battle involves Deoxys fighting a meteor that was going to destroy the Hoenn region, if not the world. It's unclear whether Deoxys has a hand in causing this meteor to head towards the Pokemon world, or if it's simply hitching a ride, and because of this uncertainty, Deoxys falls into the neutral category. The true neutrals of this list are every single Reggie. Regirock, Regice, Registeel, Regieleki, Regidrago, and their leader Pokemon, Regigigas.
I would not
because he's adding
be the person that I am today had it not been for the partnership with UMGC.
6 months ago. Because he doesn't have, that means he won't have Scarlet and Violet Pokemon in this yet.
That it towed continents. According to legend, Regigigas single-handedly created a Regirock, Regice, Registeel, Regieleki, and Regidrago in its own image, and is hypothesized to have created even more. Each Regi, aside from Regigigas, who appears to be a living creature, is made of non-living materials, such as rock, ice from the Ice Age, steel, condensed electricity, or hardened draconic energy. The Regis, while all made of different materials, all seemingly share the same traits. They all lack a brain and a heart, making them a biological miracle that they even live at all. They all live solitarily, often inside of mountains or deep in ruins, and are typically only a threat if they're directly attacked. Even Regigigas spends its days slumbering in Snowpoint Temple, only reacting to outside stimuli when this slumber is disturbed. Because they keep to themselves and don't seem to live on the same wavelength as people, nor even other Pokemon, one can only rationalize that a Regi is purely neutral at heart. They just vibe. Next up is Zarude, the rogue monkey Pokemon. Zarude are rare social Pokemon and stick together in big packs. Together they frighten Pokemon away from their groups and will brutally assail anyone who isn't a part of their pack, showing a very territorial and aggressive side. However, some Zarude have been known to adopt human children and protect them, leaving their packs to operate solo. This is quite the case for the Zarude named Dada, a unique Zarude wearing a cloth that debuted in Secrets of the Jungle. Zarude are a group of Pokemon bent towards being territorial, but are capable of showing genuine kindness, pushing them towards the neutral side of this list. Next on our list is Marshadow, the Gloom Dweller Pokemon. One of the most secretive and and cautious Pokemon on this list, Marshadow dissolves into shadows in order to keep itself hidden. It is because of this that Marshadow doesn't appear before humans, and it doesn't even appear in the Pokédex in its main series debut in the anime. Marshadow uses its powers of concealment in order to spy on others, learning their combat moves and seemingly using them better than those it sets out to copy. Marshadow also possesses the ability to understand others' feelings, giving it a heightened state of empathy compared to other Pokemon. In I Choose You, the movie Marshadow debuted in, Marshadow is shown to serve as a servant of Ho-Oh, judging those who come to meet Ho-Oh and see if they're pure of heart. However, Marshadow is temporarily turned evil after the Rainbow Wing is corrupted by Cross, turning Marshadow incredibly violent and a vector through which the Rainbow Wing could corrupt other Pokemon. During this brief stint, Marshadow and the corrupted Pokemon team up to kill Ash Ketchum. No, really, they killed him, disintegrated him. Marshadow was one of the few Pokemon in the Pokemon canon to have actually killed Ash. Even Mewtwo never got that far, having turned him to stone and technically just froze Ash.
Technically, when Mewtwo turned him to stone, that does count as killing him. Because he was dead. He had no heartbeat. Marshadow did kill him too, which is funny.
However, since this is an isolated incident and Marshadow doesn't kill anyone else, it's hard to tell whether the corrupted Rainbow Wing directly controls Marshadow or just makes it act more aggressively than it otherwise would have, seeing Ash as a threat. Because of this, Marshadow just caps the neutral tier of this list. And with our gray area wrapped up, we now get to the dark side. These legendary Pokemon are the bad and the evil. Starting the evil side of our list are Spectrier and Glasstrier, the swift horse.
What? How are they evil if rise on them? That doesn't make sense. Here it is.
And the wild horse Pokemon, respectively. Spectrier is a Pokemon that desires silence and isolation, only leaving its hideaway at night in order to steal the life force from sleeping individuals, fighting anyone who gets in its way. Glasstrier, however, is an incredibly active and aggressive Pokemon, using its incredible physical strength to take resources from other Pokemon. Both of these Pokemon are very arrogant, only serving those who they deem strongest in the land. In ancient times, they worked for Calyrex, who rode them like steeds as Calyrex protected the weak and the innocent. Despite their work with Calyrex, Spectrier and Glasstrier are ultimately very hostile Pokemon. They listen to no one and are among the very few Pokemon that will readily hurt anyone who tries to tame them. Groudon and Kyogre take up the next slot in this list. 3,000 years ago, Groudon and Kyogre were born from the powerful primal energy that was shaping the regions we see today. Groudon and Kyogre battled, the clash of land and sea creating the Hoenn region before being quieted by Rayquaza. This alone should give you an idea of the primordial strength these two Pokemon possess. Groudon possesses the power to cause
They literally created a whole continent from fighting.
Massive droughts and volcanic eruptions, expanding the land by sapping the land of its moisture and oceans. Kyogre, in contrast, is said to bring water and rainstorms with its mere presence and is worshipped as a god for creating the oceans and causing downpours. When these two Pokemon meet, those same battles that created the Pokemon region are waged again, causing massive devastation to the ecosystem. Kyogre and Groudon are natural enemies, embodiments of nature that cannot be controlled, which is exactly what Team Magma and Team Aqua are forced to learn when they try to harness their potential for their own ends. Because of their destructive power and their reckless inherent animosity for each other, Kyogre and Groudon both take a place in the evil portion of our list. Next on our list is Hoopa, the Mischief Pokemon, as well as the Jin Pokemon. In its tiny form, Hoopa is merely a troublemaker at heart, using its hoops to gather things that it likes and somehow teleport them to a secret place. However, this is simply its confined form. In its unbound form, unlocked by using the prison bottle item in the games, Hoopa realizes its full potential. In this state, Hoopa is capable of summoning and capturing objects as big as castles, and it's known to warp space to evade capture. In the anime, Hoopa's unbound form, which is described as Hoopa's shadow, serves as a separate personality for the Pokemon. It's a malevolent force created by years of Hoopa being sealed within the prison bottle that would possess anyone to get revenge for being sealed away. While in this state, Hoopa could summon other legendaries, exerting its will onto them and forcing them to fight. While Hoopa in its confined form is ultimately a harmless thief, Hoopa's unbound form has been shown to be one of the most deadly and hostile forces in the Pokemon canon, putting Hoopa squarely in the evil portion of our list. Rising up from its slumber is Eternatus, the gigantic Pokemon.
With Kroger Pickup and Delivery, you get the same great
Recorded Pokemon, Eternatus, much like Deoxys, is a Pokemon whose origin comes from the dark depths of space 20,000 years ago. When Eternatus initially touches down on Earth, it lands in the Galar region and causes the Darkest Day, a day where Dynamax energy causes Pokemon to Dynamax and rampage uncontrollably. However, it's stopped by Zacian and Zamazenta, broken up into pieces and scattered among Galar in the form of wishing stars. Eternatus itself has control over Dynamax energy and is capable of either forcing or preventing Pokemon from being able to Dynamax themselves. Eternatus is actually capable of entering a step further beyond Dynamax, called Eternamax. In this state, it grows to over 328 feet, about 100 meters, in height, gains the ability to warp space and time itself, and creates a nigh infinite source of energy. Eternatus is directly responsible for nearly ending the world twice due to the Darkest Day, and is only stopped by the efforts of the protagonists.
Wow, it almost ended the world twice? Holy shit, I didn't know Eternatus was that evil.
Zamazenta on both occasions. It's hard to tell what motives Eternatus has for going on a rampage as it has in the past, but it can be inferred that the Pokemon simply doesn't know better. In the Pokédex, its Eternamax state is described as being power overload, so one can suppose it doesn't want to be in that state any more than Galar does. However, because of the sheer damage that Eternatus can create when released, it ranks alongside the other deadly forces of nature in the evil category. Continuing our descent, we have Tornadus and Thundurus. These two Pokemon are part of the forces of nature right next to Landorus. Tornadus is capable of generating winds at 200 miles per hour, or 320 kilometers per hour, giving it the ability to blow down houses and cause wide-scale property damage. Thundurus has the power to summon thunderbolts, which it uses to cause forest fires. While they do serve an important purpose in stirring up and enriching soil, much like Landorus does, they both are hated for what their powers ultimately do to the surrounding area. They're both very quick to anger, can appear anywhere at any moment thanks to their incredible speed, and get into violent clashes in the span of seconds, causing massive hurricanes that can ruin surrounding towns and landscapes. The only reason these two aren't actively causing end-of-the-world scenarios is because Landorus keeps breaking them up. Tornadus and Thundurus' frequent outbursts, coupled with their radically deadly nature abilities, put them high up in the evil spectrum. Descending from on high is the Grim Reaper of the Pokemon world, Yveltal. Serving as the embodiment of death itself and the counterpart to Xerneas, Yveltal has the ability to steal the life energy around it through its wings.
I like how he said it's death itself.
At the end of its lifespan, it steals life force before going into a cocoon-like state, revitalizing itself. Yveltal's power is ultimately selfish, in that it steals the life of other Pokemon in order to rejuvenate itself. However, it is the reason things die at all in the Pokemon world. As we mentioned before, without Yveltal, Xerneas would have nothing to counterbalance its immortality-giving properties. Without Yveltal, we would be forced to live with the effects of aging and our bodies giving out without ever having the ability to pass on. Yet, at the same time, without Xerneas, Yveltal would have no one to stop it from stealing the life of everyone on the planet, rendering it completely dead. Yveltal is ultimately a parasitic Pokemon, but the only thing keeping it from the far end of this list is the fact that we need Yveltal to keep us from living forever. It is a very tenuous relationship in many—
Yeah, it's kind of like they balance. They're like the yin and the yang. One can't exist without the other. So Yveltal is technically doing his job, like killing people at the right age, like stealing life for you. Yeah, you're supposed to die at some point. Makes sense. No, this is. I mean, people always say this Pokemon was evil. Maybe it was evil if Xerneas wasn't alive, then Yveltal would be like, okay, yeah, he's evil as fuck.
many ways more so than with Xerneas. This is what pushes Yveltal to the evil part of our list. Next up is the elusive Darkrai. Darkrai has the terrifying ability to control nightmares and can induce them in any individual that it wishes, human or Pokemon. While Darkrai tends to only use these powers for self-defense, it even feeds off of victims through these nightmares, which is particularly unnerving. Throughout continuity, Darkrai's allegiances have been hard to pin down. In its debut movie, Rise of Darkrai, the Dark Pokemon strikes a protagonist role, helping fend off Dialga and Palkia and supporting Ash as he tries to stop the creation gods from destroying a town. However, Darkrai really hits its evil stride in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Time, Darkness Sky, where the Pokemon tries to cover the world in darkness by manipulating both Dialga and Palkia. Darkrai's shifting stance on the alignment scale, as well as its incredibly sinister powers, push Darkrai toward the more evil side of our list. Claiming the bronze medal of evil is the Ice Dragon Kyurem. In many respects, Kyurem is a Pokemon with a lot of issues. It's incredibly hostile and, according to old legends, would try to eat humans and Pokemon alike when they would wander around at night. By itself, the Pokemon is merely a hollow shell, requiring either Reshiram or Zekrom to be fused with it in order to reach its full potential. This Pokemon also has the dubious honor of being one of the few Pokemon to nearly kill a protagonist in Black 2, White 2 after being told by Getsis to do so and not even hesitating. While one could make the argument that Kyurem isn't evil at heart and is more of a wild animal even compared to most other Pokemon, Kyurem's track record for causing harm to others warrants the Bronze Medal of Evil. Nabbing the Silver Medal of Evil is the god of antimatter, Giratina, a terrifying dragon type from another dimension. Giratina is essentially the Pokemon world's version of the man downstairs. Giratina was supposedly banished to the...
For those that don't know, when they say man downstairs, they're talking about Giratina is literally the actual devil. He's like he's the god of evil, pure evil, like evil than Yveltal. If Giratina wants to, he can manipulate Yveltal, Hoopa, and them to do his bidding, since they're all dark and evil type. Because I think, Giratina's like dragon and dark, right? Well, he's dragon and... He's dragon in dark. I have to look it up.
Distortion World by Arceus himself, and being stuck there has only made them incredibly irritable and desperate to get out. Oftentimes, when Giratina breaks through to the Pokemon world, it involves the Distortion World and the Pokemon world merging in some way, causing catastrophic damage to both. In fact, in Pokemon Legends Arceus, Giratina serves as an antagonist. In the game, Giratina creates a space-time distortion that kickstarts the main conflict throughout the story, driving Dialga and Palkia into a frenzy and sending the noble Pokemon into their lord/lady states, causing serious trouble for the player character. In the final confrontation with Volo, a merchant who wants to attack and dethrone Arceus himself, Giratina appears to fight the player after the player defeats Volo. Giratina's potential for threat to the entire Pokemon world, as well as its vengeful nature at being cast out by Arceus, makes it deserve the Silver Medal of Evil, we'd say. Finally, earning the Gold Medal of Evil is Necrozma.
Choose the
Now,
K.
Necrozma, I don't know much
Reverse
about.
it.
I don't know how evil that Pokemon is, because every time they show that John in the show, the anime, it always just seems like it's trying to merge with the Sun and Moon Pokemon. But they don't specifically say that it's like 100%
One of the few
evil.
Ultra Beasts on our list. Hailing from Ultra Space, Necrozma was originally capable of emitting light, but was injured by the ancestors of the Ultra Recon Squad in order to steal its light. In the battle, Necrozma was left damaged and incomplete, creating a Pokemon that hungered for the light it could no longer create. Necrozma subjugated and consumed the light of Ultra Space, rendering the world a lifeless wasteland. The ravenous Necrozma supposedly did the same to countless other worlds, and ate the light from creatures such as Lunala and Solgaleo, evidently reduced to a cosmic parasite. It is only when the protagonists of Pokemon Sun and Moon stops them that this eldritch abomination is finally recontained and light is returned to the worlds that it had been stolen from. Long story short, Necrozma is the closest that Pokemon games ever get to creating Cthulhu. Necrozma's mindless hunger and the interstellar magnitude of the damage it causes up until it's finally stopped are why it easily wins the Gold Medal of Evil. And now for the Sinner Medals. The Gluttony Medal goes to Kyurem. People tell stories of how Kyurem eats man and Pokemon, and is one of the few, if only times, people are mentioned as being a Pokemon's main source of prey. The Pride Medal goes to Mewtwo. For the longest time, this guy subscribes to the idea that he's the strongest Pokemon to have ever lived. He'll only appear before people he believes might be possible challenges. If that's not arrogance, I don't know what is. The Sloth Medal goes to Regigigas and their smaller Regi counterparts. They just stand and wait for years until something pops by to bother them. Regigigas is also always seen sleeping. The Envy Medal goes to Giratina for harboring such a grudge against Arceus that it is ready to sacrifice the entire world Arceus had made just for its chance at taking the throne. The Greed Medal goes to Hoopa. This little guy stole whole castles with hoops just to snag the riches inside. Don't be a thief, Hoopa! The Wrath Medal goes to Thundurus and Tornadus. These two have been fighting since the beginning of time, more so than squabblers like the legendary Birds or Kyogre and Groudon, and they do it way more frequently. The Lust Medal goes to Enamorus. Their whole point is the idea that they encourage new life in the region it's visiting. But let us know in the comments section if you agree with our ranking. Which do you think is the most noble legendary?
They're all evil. Shout outs to that, man. They're all evil. I'm subscribed to all evil. Except for a couple of them. Oh, wait. Oh, he does have Scarlet and Violet on here. Okay, we might do that one later on. Man, that was a long video. 42 minutes. Woo. Let's check this John on out, y'all.